Our aid has begun trickling into Afghanistan as the country deals with its deadliest earthquake in 2 decades. More than 1,000 people have been killed. The death toll is expected to mount as a clearer picture of the devastation emerges. Over 3,000 houses have been destroyed. Rescuers are racing against time to reach survivors, but poor communication and a lack of proper roads are hampering efforts. Officials say about 600 people have been rescued from various areas since last night.
بندیباس کو کچره کې اسلامي امارات خلک میته وکړه غدي بغون په بیا په بایبان کو پروتي کورو ته نشي ناته ځکه چې کورونا غون خطرناک دي غون وراته دي غون لیټی دي بچان مردا وځه الله لا لا ودي ته مړ شوم بچان ما ته پروتي بي دا زخميان کان مسدي کو کسي دی وایله تعالی راوځي ته ما لا مړ شوم مخ راسکه ومو څه دانه برداشت کولای چې په تو باندې منور کور راشي او په بنر زخمي کا یا بوته مړ.
The Singapore Red Cross has started a fundraising appeal for the victims of the quake. It's also committing $50,000 to support survivors and affected communities. We get more on this from Benjamin Williams, he's CEO and Secretary General of the Singapore Red Cross. Afghanistan is no stranger to... Good evening, yes. Afghanistan is no stranger to earthquakes. In fact, the UN puts the average loss of lives every year at just over 550 people. So agencies like yours, which probably offer help on a fairly regular basis for disasters like these, I'm sure you fine-tune depending on where these earthquakes happen, which part of the year in which they happen. So if we look at this latest one in a fairly remote region in the eastern province of Paktika, in summer months with heavy rain, how are you fine-tuning your aid so that you best help those most in need who require it most urgently?
So thank you for having me on. I think what we learn actually from giving aid following a disaster is that almost every disaster is unique. Yes, Afghanistan is very prone to earthquakes, and there are many earthquakes, but this earthquake is almost unprecedented in the last 20 years. It's one of the worst earthquakes. And number two, it's happening in it happened in a very remote area. The facilities in this area is very limited, especially medical facilities. And the only access to the area has also been limited and now made worse because of the earthquake. On top of that, Afghanistan is already facing many crises. So this is something on top of the crisis that they are already facing, which is like drought and hunger, as well as conflict or coming out of a conflict. So these are some of the challenges that we have to deal with in offering the assistance to the Afghan communities affected by this earthquake.
Mr. Williams, what you outlined was a range of challenges, but you are going to be helping people who are at the moment maybe still trapped on the rubble, people who need very urgent medical help, and maybe slightly more longer term, a chance to rebuild their homes so that they're more resilient to earthquakes like we're seeing in Afghanistan. Now, how are you going to prioritize the efforts that will be made by your agency so that you at least cover minimum needs of the people right now?
Yeah. So right now, the urgent needs are what we are focused on, and we are working with our partners, the Afghan Red Crescent, as well as the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. The immediate needs are, number one, health. There is very little health facility in this area, and the key provider of medical assistance now is the Afghan Red Crescent mobile teams. So we have to work with them to provide them with the supplies to bring this medical aid. Number two is food, water, and the basic needs. As I mentioned earlier, this region already suffers from drought, and there's already a food shortage. So this crisis will make it worse. And so, therefore, there's an urgent need for increased food supply. Third is that many of the houses in this area are actually very flimsily built. So there's a great need for shelter and accommodation in the coming days. So these will be some of the priorities that we will have to meet in the coming days. The talk about rebuilding and all that will come much later. But right now we have to deal with the basic needs. And then there's also the case of medical trauma and psychosocial support.
The current ruling government, the Taliban government, of course, has been hit by many sanctions from many powers. Are you anticipating any issues working with this government to bring aid to their people?
I'm optimistic on this front. Number one, and there are several reasons for this. Firstly, the authorities in Kabul have made a request for international assistance. And given the conditions in the country, they will welcome the international assistance. Number two, we are working, our partner on the ground is the Afghan Red Crescent and the Red Crescent Cross Societies. Now, you must remember that the Afghan Red Crescent and the movement has been working with the Taliban even before they took office, even in the areas that were once controlled by the Taliban. So there's a good working relationship with the authorities understanding the role of the Red Cross, Red Crescent, that we bring humanitarian assistance. Given the status of the Afghan Red Crescent, which has a wide network of volunteers throughout the country, I'm very confident that we would be able to reach the communities that are affected by the earthquake without too much bureaucratic obstacles.
And a final question, Mr. Williams, and I'm sure you have been asked this in the last day or so. For Singaporeans here, how can they, should they want to offer any kind of aid to the people of Afghanistan who are suffering from this natural disaster?
The Singapore Red Cross has launched a public appeal. We are hoping to reach out to Singaporeans who can contribute towards this appeal. In any disaster, the best is to be able to purchase these relief items either in the country itself, which means it will overcome all the freight costs and the customs clearances, or in a country near the point of the disaster. So we want to urge people to come forward, if they can, to donate generously so that we will be able to assist the communities that are affected by the disaster. There are some people who want to donate in kind. You can approach us. But generally, when we donate in kind, it's very difficult to get these items into the country unless they are new, unless they are in bulk, and we are able to facilitate this shipment.
Thanks so much for joining us, Mr. Benjamin Williams, CEO of the Singapore Red Cross, on the race to send aid to disaster-hit Afghanistan.